I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. Do you want to be a better man? Not for anyone else's definition of what that means, not the version of your job that rewards or social media celebrates or culture has been selling you your whole life. I mean, better for you. Better for your kids if you have them, better for your partner, better for the people who are counting on you, even if you don't realize that somebody is counting on you. Because here's really what I've learned working with men across every age, boys, young men, grown men, and also living this personally. Most men want to be better. They just don't know the difference between wanting it and actually doing something about it. So today I'm going to break that down. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you are going to see life a little bit differently. I want to give you a framework, 3 words, and I want you to figure out which one you're operating from right now. The first word is discipline. Discipline says, I will make myself do the thing. It's the alarm going off at 5 a.m. and you get up anyway. It's going to the gym, you don't feel like it. Having that hard conversation you've been avoiding. Discipline is extremely powerful. It's necessary. But discipline alone is exhausting because it runs on willpower. And willpower is a limited resource. You can force yourself for a while, but eventually force feels kind of like a prison. The second word, motivation. Motivation says, I want to do the thing. Now we're getting somewhere. When you're motivated, the action feels lighter. You've connected to a reason. Something inside you is pulling rather than pushing. Here's the problem with motivation. It comes and it goes. It's weather dependent. On the days when life feels heavy, motivation tends to disappear. And then you're back to discipline, or worse, you stop altogether. The third word is obsession. Obsession says something completely different. Obsession says, I can't not do the thing. Obsession is what happens when the work stops being something you do and becomes something really that you are. When getting better is no longer a goal on a list, it's woven into your identity, into who you see yourself as, into how you move through the world. You don't have to white knuckle obsession into existence, but I want you to understand, the men who actually transform their lives, they find their way to obsession, not because somebody forced them, because they connected to something deeper than a goal. They connected to the reason. And that's what we need to talk about. Let me tell you something I've seen over and over again in my own life and in the lives of every man I've worked with. The men who make real lasting change, they don't do it just for themselves. They do it because they finally understand the weight of what they're carrying and what happens to the people around them if they keep carrying it. Here's what I mean. The pain you haven't processed. It doesn't stay inside you, it moves. It comes out in how you react when you're stressed and how present you are or aren't with your kids, in the emotional distance your partner feels but can't quite name, in the way you show love or without it, or blow up, or really just go silent. Now, this is what I call generational pain, and it moves through families, not through some mystical inheritance, but through the very simple, concrete mechanism of one person's unprocessed wounds showing up in their behavior, and that behavior shaping the environment that the next generation grows up in. Your father carried something, his father carried something before him. Men who love their families and still pass pain forward, not because they were bad men, but because nobody ever gave them the tools, really. Nobody ever sat down and said, this is what you're carrying and here's what it's costing you. I'm saying it to you now because here's what's also true. And I want you to really hear this. The moment you choose to look at what you're carrying is the moment you decide to do the real work. You don't just change your life, you change the chain. You become the link that chose differently, and every person who comes after you, your children, their children, they inherit something different because of a decision you made right now, in this moment, in your lifetime. That is not a small thing. That is the beginning of everything. I wanted to take a brief pause on this video to thank you so much for watching. If you're anything like me, you've always had a tough time of really tracking your habits. And so what I went ahead and did was I created what's called the Rebuild Tracker. It helps you understand what healthy habits you are actually following, then maybe some of the more negative habits that you're following, how often you're doing those. Take these and track them, and then you can compare them from month to month to see how you're improving. What this will do is help you to level up and help you become the person that you are wanting to be. There's reflection sections. It's a fillable PDF, so you don't have to print it out. You can if you want, but I make it easy so that you can go ahead and save it on your computer, and then you can track it as you log into your computer or use as you'd like. So thank you again for watching this video. I will leave the link to the Rebuild Tracker below. It is free. You can go in there, just make sure you fill out $0, click I want this, and then that should move you through. I want to talk about this moment, not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when things settle down, this moment right here. Because here's the thing about change. We tend to treat it like a future event, like something that happens when the conditions are right, when you have more time, more money, more energy, fewer obligations, a better version of ourselves to start from. But that's really not how it works. Change happens in the moment you decide it does, not the moment you feel ready, because that feeling may never come. In the moment, you choose. And I know how that sounds. It sounds simple, maybe even a little bit naive, but I'm not talking about a surface level decision. I'm talking about the kind of choice that comes from finally being honest with yourself with what your current path is producing. Looking at your relationships, your health, your emotional world, the man who your kids are watching, asking, is this who I truly want to be? Because if you continue down the path of abandoning yourself, running from your interior life, numbing out, staying too busy to feel, suppressing what's real, that bill comes due. It shows up in your body, in your relationships, in the quiet way your kids absorb who you are, not who you really tell them to be. But if you choose differently, even imperfectly, even messily, even one day at a time, you start unchaining yourself from the patterns that have been running your life without your permission. And when you unchain yourself, you unchain everyone who comes after you. That is why this is bigger than a self-improvement goal. This is why this is worth the obsession. If this is landing for you, if something in you is saying, yes, this is what I've been missing, hit that subscribe button below. This is what I do here. Every week, content built specifically for men who are ready to stop operating on default and start building something intentional. And if you know a man who needs this, a brother, a son, a partner, share this with him. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is just put the right thing in front of them at the right time. So what does this actually look like? What is the man on the other side of this work? He's not perfect. Let me be clear about that. The goal is not really perfection. The goal is integration, becoming a man who has done enough honest looking at himself that his strength is real instead of defensive. He's a man who can pause before he reacts, who can say, I was wrong without falling apart, who can ask for help, not because he's weak, but because he knows that going alone was never sustainable. He's a man who understands the connection between his emotional world and his physical health, because that connection is very real. The stress you never processed lives inside your body, in your shoulders, in your gut, in your sleep. And when you start addressing the root instead of just the symptoms, your energy changes. Your body responds. Your relationships shift. He's the man his kids look at and see someone who is present, not just physically in the room, but actually there, actually showing up, modeling something worth inheriting. He's the man his partner feels safe with, not because he's figuring everything out, but because she can feel that he's in an honest relationship with himself, that there's no giant wall up between who he is on the outside and what's actually going on the inside. That man is available to you right now in this lifetime, not someday, now. It starts with a choice, it builds through practice, and it becomes over time the only way you know how to live. Do you want to be a better man? I think you do. I think that's why you're here. Start today, not with a massive overhaul, just with honesty, just with One question: what am I carrying that was never mine to carry? And what would my life look like if I finally set it down? I'm Ty Rising. This is the work. Let's do it together.